Is Professor Peter Mathews, of course, a professor of political science at Cypress College in Los Angeles. Professor, can you believe that the former president is still talking about the election? We're nearly in August.
It's just incredible that he would not let it go when so many decisions were made to his appeals, turning down his appeals in courts, judges, even Republican-appointed judges, Republican secretaries of state, officials in various states certified the election that Joe Biden won the electoral votes and the popular vote. He still won't let it go. There's some kind of a mental obsession here. I'm not sure what it is exactly.
Is it if you sort of scratch away at the surface, do you think it is sort of linked to the whole idea that there's nothing else to really cling on to?
I think so, and I also do think he's raising money with this assertion that he still keeps raising money. Your story just mentioned $75 million or so, and some of that money goes into his personal expenses. Who knows to what other accounts he could transfer it to, some kind of a foundation he might set up for his own benefit. So there's financial incentives here, and to keep himself in the limelight, because he is facing other problems, with his own Trump organization having been indicted on fraud and those kinds of things. He's got those problems, putting it aside, out of the news, while he's focusing on this and keeping himself in the news this way instead.
How insulted do you think the millions and millions and millions of people that were involved in putting a very difficult election together in the middle of a pandemic would be by these words? Obviously, there's a divide in the United States.
They're hugely insulted, and this is not just Democrats, most of whom voted for Joe Biden, but there are many Republicans with integrity who believe that the election results have to be admitted, and the rule of law has to prevail. And those moderate Republicans and even some conservative Republicans who believe in the rule of law all are flabbergasted that the president won't let this go. He's destabilizing our political system to some extent and our legitimacy as a nation, and we should never let that happen, although the majority believe this was a legitimate election all the way through. So he's going up against a mountain that he's trying to climb, which I don't think he's going to make it.
We've got plenty of dramas here in and around lockdowns and COVID, but the numbers are infinitesimal in contrast to where they are in the United States. 60-odd thousand yesterday, I just browsed quickly, but it really is becoming a pandemic of the unvaccinated. It
really is. Primarily the unvaccinated who are getting infected. As you said, 60,000, that is a huge increase from 12,000 just less than a couple of weeks or a month ago. It's skyrocketing, the infection rates, and mostly the Delta variant is driving it. The Delta variant and the fact that the unvaccinated refuse to get vaccinated. So hopefully we can turn that around and get more of them vaccinated. But it's also affecting in terms of the breakthrough infections. In Los Angeles County alone, 20% of the new infections were breakthroughs of those who had already been fully vaccinated. So we know that the full vaccination is extremely helpful, and it'll protect you from going to the hospital or getting ill or even dying. In the vast majority of cases, but the breakthrough variants and the results of that leave people a little bit sick, a little bit like they have a cold. So it's very well worth it to get vaccinated. And the unvaccinated have to remember that. Some of them are coming to their senses. Believe me, there was a story about a young woman who was in her 20s who was on her deathbed, and she was begging the doctor for vaccination. The doctor said, "I'm so sorry, you're too late." I think this was in Missouri, and it's so horrendous what's going on right now. We have to capture this, and turn it around all the way right away.
Yeah, I read that piece about the doctor, and that was one of many, many stories that she was saying it's too late. And she's seen that just before she's ventilating people. They're saying, "Can I be vaccinated?" But unfortunately, at that point, it has become too late. They've brought back mandatory mask orders.
They have in some counties, like Los Angeles County and also St. Louis County in Missouri. They have mandated mask wearing now in indoor spaces. And that's going to also apply to schools in California. The governor made a ruling that the public schools and private schools the children have to wear masks, whether they're vaccinated or not. They've all got to wear masks. And then he backtracked a little bit by saying, we're going to let the local school districts implement that and enforce it, which I think takes some of the teeth out of it. I mean, there has to be real stringent measures taken by the state government, as he took verbally. And then the enforcement has to be there to make it certain that there'll be penalties, that these schools will lose money or whatever it is, or sometimes there'll be punishments in some of the other ways for not keeping the masks on these little children. And it's so important if they're starting school back in the fall, which they are really soon, and some of them already just started actually, that they need to have all be masked, and not just the ones who are vaccinated, because we don't know which ones are and which ones are not. It's better to keep it that way until the under 12-year-olds get vaccinated, which should be pretty soon, in a couple of months, hopefully. Once that happens, then we can talk about removing masks. But right now, they should remain on for as many people as possible.
Professor Peter Mathews, we will chat again next week.
You bet. Thank you, Tim. Take care.